Marcus Dane had made plenty of questionable decisions in his 28 years, but renting an apartment on an alien space station without seeing it first definitely cracked the top 10. As his shuttle docked at Nexus Station, a sprawling orbital habitat orbiting the gas giant the Sara, he second-guessed everything. The station was magnificent, though. Crystalline spires jutted from its central hub like frozen lightning, and the docking bay hummed with beings from a dozen different worlds. Marcus hefted his travel case, adjusted his jacket, and stepped into the controlled chaos of interstellar immigration. 3 hours, 2 security checkpoints, and 1 very thorough decontamination scan later, he finally stood in the residential sector, staring at the directory board. The holographic display flickered in response to his touch, highlighting his new address: Residential Tower 7, Unit 49B. The lift carried him smoothly upward, the transparent walls offering breathtaking views of the station's interior gardens and the swirling clouds of the Sara beyond. When the doors opened on the 49th floor, Marcus found himself in a corridor that seemed grown rather than built, its walls a seamless blend of organic curves and subtle bioluminescence. Unit 49B sat at the end of the hall, its entrance marked by a shimmering panel that pulsed gently with inner light. Marcus pressed his palm against it, and the door dissolved into translucent mist, revealing the apartment beyond. "Oh, this is nice," he breathed. The space was open and airy, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the station and the planet below. Strange furniture in flowing, organic shapes dotted the main living area, and plants he couldn't begin to name cascaded from floating planters near the ceiling. You must be the new tenant. Marcus jumped, spinning around to find a woman standing in the doorway he hadn't noticed. No, not a woman exactly. She was humanoid, certainly, but the resemblance ended there. Her skin was a deep azure blue, smooth as silk and patterned with delicate silver markings that seemed to shift as she moved. Her hair, if it could be called that, was a cascade of crystalline strands that chimed softly when she tilted her head. Eyes like liquid gold studied him with frank curiosity. She was, Marcus realized with a jolt, absolutely stunning. "I'm Valara," she said, her voice carrying a musical quality that made his name sound flat by comparison. "I own this building. Welcome to Nexus Station." "Marcus Dane," he managed, extending his hand awkwardly. "Thanks for, renting to a human. I know some landlords are hesitant about our kind." Valara looked at his offered hand with interest, then grasped it in both of hers. Her skin was warm, warmer than he expected, and incredibly soft. "Why would I hesitate? Your credits spend the same as anyone else's, and your references were excellent." She released his hand with what might have been reluctance. "Come, let me show you the facilities." She glided past him, and Marcus caught a scent like ozone and honey. He followed, trying not to stare at the way her form-fitting outfit highlighted her elegant figure. She moved with an almost serpentine grace, each step flowing into the next. "The main living area adapts to your preferences," Valara explained, gesturing around them. "Simply speak your desired temperature, lighting, or ambient sound, and the station's AI will adjust. Your sleeping chamber is here." She opened a door to reveal a room dominated by a large circular bed covered in what looked like living moss. "And the cleansing suite is through there." Marcus peered into the bathroom and felt relief wash over him. At least some things were universal. He could identify what was probably a toilet, definitely a sink, and an open shower area with multiple nozzles. "I'll leave you to get settled," Valara said. "I live 2 floors up if you need anything. Oh, and there's a welcome gathering tonight in the communal garden. You should come. It's a good way to meet your neighbors." "I'll think about it," Marcus said, already mentally calculating how long he could avoid socializing. "Thanks again." After Valara left, Marcus spent an hour unpacking and exploring the apartment's various features. Everything responded to voice commands, though the AI's accent was thick enough that he had to repeat himself several times. By the time he finished, he was covered in travel grime and desperate for a shower. The cleansing suite was even more impressive up close. The shower had what appeared to be a dozen nozzles positioned at various heights, and there was a control panel with symbols he couldn't decipher. Marcus stripped off his clothes, tossing them in a hamper, and stepped under the spray. "Hot water," he commanded, and gasped as perfectly heated water cascaded over him from all angles. "Oh, that's perfect." He found what he hoped was soap in a dispenser and began lathering up, groaning in pleasure as he worked the tension from his shoulders. The journey from Earth had taken weeks, even with the new quantum drives. And every muscle ached. He was halfway through washing his hair, eyes squeezed shut against the suds, when he heard the door open. "Marcus Dane, I forgot to mention the water recycling system has been—" "Oh." Marcus's eyes flew open to find Velara standing in the bathroom doorway, her golden eyes wide as they traveled down his naked, soapy body. Time seemed to freeze. His hands remained uselessly in his hair, suds dripping down his face. Velara's gaze fixed on his groin with the intensity of a scientist discovering a new species. "Human male," she said slowly, her musical voice pitched higher than before. "Why do you have a miniature tentacle creature nestled between your legs? Is it a symbiotic parasite? Does it require separate feeding?" Marcus's face erupted in heat that had nothing to do with the shower's temperature. "What? No. It's not. That's just, oh God." He grabbed desperately for something to cover himself, but there was nothing within reach. Velara seemed utterly unfazed by his nudity or his mortification. She stepped closer, head tilting as she studied him with genuine scientific curiosity. "It appears to be growing," she observed clinically. "Is it hostile? Should I summon medical assistance?" "It's called a penis," Marcus blurted, his voice cracking. "It's completely normal human anatomy. And could you please not stare at it?" Velara blinked, processing this information. "Penis," she repeated, as if testing the word. "Fascinating. I've studied human biology, of course, but the educational materials were rather abstract. This is far more interesting than the diagram suggested." Marcus made a strangled sound between a laugh and a groan. "I'm begging you. Can I please have some privacy?" "Privacy?" Velara's expression shifted to something like comprehension. "Ah, yes. Humans have unusual taboos regarding their reproductive organs. My apologies, Marcus Dane. I forget that other species don't have the same comfort with physical forms that my people do." She moved toward the door, then paused. "Though I must say, for such an apparently sensitive appendage, it seems remarkably responsive to stimuli. Out." Marcus managed to croak. Velara laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a summer breeze. "I'm going. But we should discuss this later. I have so many questions about human mating practices. Do you actually insert that into 'please leave'?" The door finally closed, and Marcus stood under the spray, his heart hammering like a drum. Through the door, he heard Velara's voice, still amused. "I'll see you at the gathering tonight, Marcus Dane. We have much to discuss." Marcus turned off the shower and leaned his forehead against the cool wall. What had he gotten himself into? His first hour on Nexus Station, and he'd already been interrogated about his anatomy by the most beautiful alien woman he'd ever seen. And the worst part? Despite his mortification, he couldn't stop thinking about the way her golden eyes had widened with curiosity, or how her musical laugh had made something warm unfurl in his chest. This was going to be a very interesting lease. Marcus stood in front of his closet, which had somehow unpacked itself while he showered, and contemplated his options for the evening gathering. After the bathroom incident, Every fiber of his being screamed to stay home, order food through whatever delivery system this station used, and avoid Velara for the foreseeable future. But another part of him, the part that had gotten him, this job cataloging xenobotanical specimens in the first place, was curious. About the station, about his neighbors, and if he was being honest, about Velara herself. He settled on casual pants and a comfortable shirt, ran his fingers through his still damp hair, and headed out before he could change his mind. The communal garden was located in the heart of the residential tower, a vast open space that stretched up through multiple floors. The ceiling was transparent, offering a view of the stars beyond, while the garden itself was a riot of alien flora in every color imaginable. Bioluminescent flowers cast pools of soft light, and trees with silver bark reached toward the artificial sky. About 20 beings milled about, representing at least a dozen different species. Marcus recognized a few from his xenobiology training, a pair of chitinous vril engaged in animated conversation, several gelatinous queldi floating near the refreshment table, and what looked like a family of fur-covered mektar playing with their young. Marcus Dane. He turned to find Velara approaching, and his breath caught. She'd changed into an outfit that seemed woven from starlight itself, clinging to her curves before flowing out in gossamer panels that moved like liquid. Her crystalline hair was arranged in an elaborate style that left her elegant neck bare, and those golden eyes sparkled with mischief. "You came," she said, genuine pleasure in her voice. "I wasn't certain you would, after our ... awkward introduction." "About that," Marcus began, but Velara waved a hand dismissively. "Please, the fault was entirely mine. I should have announced myself before entering. In my culture, bodies are simply vessels. We don't assign them the same significance that humans do." She leaned closer, and Marcus caught that ozone and honey scent again. "But I'm learning that context matters. I apologize for making you uncomfortable." Her sincerity disarmed him completely. "Apology accepted. And I'm sorry for yelling. You were remarkably restrained, all things considered." Velara's lips curved in a smile that made Marcus's pulse quicken. "Come, let me introduce you to everyone. Fair warning, many will be curious about you. Humans are still relatively rare on Nexus Station." She linked her arm through his with easy familiarity, and Marcus found himself being led through the gathering. True to her word, everyone seemed fascinated by him. The Vril wanted to know about Earth's gravity and how humans adapted to space travel. The Queldi were interested in human dietary requirements. A elderly Mektar matriarch asked thoughtful questions about human family structures. Through it all, Velara stayed by his side, translating when the universal translator struggled with dialect, smoothly redirecting conversations when they ventured into territory that made Marcus uncomfortable, and generally making him feel welcome in this alien space. "You're good at this," Marcus said during a lull in the socializing. They'd retreated to a quiet corner near a fountain that seemed to flow upward, making everyone feel included. Velara looked pleased by the observation. "I've owned this building for 12 cycles. These aren't just tenants, they're my community. My family, in a way." She paused, studying him with an intensity that made his skin tingle. "I'm glad you're part of it now." Before Marcus could respond, a new voice cut through the ambient noise. "Vel, there you are." A woman, another of Velara's species, practically bounced toward them. She was slightly shorter than Velara, her skin a lighter shade of blue with green undertones, and her crystalline hair was cut short in a style that somehow seemed playful. Her eyes were the same liquid gold, but they danced with barely contained energy. "Marcus, this is my sister Juno," Velara said, her tone mixing affection and exasperation. "Juno, this is Marcus Dane, our newest resident." Juno's eyes went wide. "The human." Oh, Vel told me all about you. She grabbed Marcus's hand and shook it enthusiastically. She said you have the most fascinating reproductive anatomy. And now, Velara had elbowed her sister with surprising force. Juno. What? You did say that. Juno grinned unrepentantly, then looked Marcus up and down with shameless curiosity, though she failed to mention how attractive you are by human standards. Or any standards, really. Those eyes. Like Earth's sky, Vel said. And the hair, all dark, and Juno. Velara's blue skin had taken on a distinctly purple hue. Could you please stop? Marcus felt his own face heating, but couldn't help laughing. It's fine. I have 3 siblings myself. I know how this works. Juno beamed at him. I like him already. Vel, shouldn't you be checking on your own building? Velara interrupted pointedly. I believe you mentioned something about a malfunctioning atmospheric regulator? Already fixed. Besides, I had to come meet the human who's gotten my sister so flustered. Juno stage whispered to Marcus. She never gets flustered. This is unprecedented. I am not flustered, Velara insisted, when her voice had climbed half an octave. Marcus found himself grinning. I don't know. That seems pretty flustered to me. Velara turned her golden gaze on him, and he saw surprise there, followed by something warmer. Traitor, see? Juno crowed. Even the human agrees. Now, Marcus, tell me everything. How are you finding Nexus Station? Is Vel taking good care of you? Has she explained our courting rituals yet? Because there are some things you should know if you're... And on that note, Velara said firmly, taking Marcus's arm again, we're leaving. Enjoy the gathering, Juno. She steered Marcus away from her cackling sister, her grip on his arm just a touch tighter than necessary. They ended up on a balcony overlooking the garden, as sounds of the party muted behind them. I'm sorry about her, Velara said, releasing his arm and moving to the railing. Juno has no filter whatsoever. She's great, Marcus said honestly, joining her at the railing. Reminds me of my younger sister back on Earth. Always saying exactly what everyone else is thinking, but too polite to mention. Velara laughed, and some of the tension left her shoulders. That's Juno exactly. She was quiet for a moment, staring out at the stars beyond the transparent ceiling. Can I ask you something? After this morning, I think we're past the point of standing on ceremony. She smiled at that. Fair point. Her expression turned more serious. Why did you come all the way out here? Nexus Station is far from Earth, even with quantum drives. Most humans prefer the colonies closer to home. Marcus considered the question. Honestly, I wanted to get away from Earth, not because I hate it, he added quickly, but because everyone there knew me as one thing, the guy who'd follow in his father's footsteps, work at the family business, marry the girl next door. Safe, predictable. And you didn't want that? I wanted to discover who I could be without all those expectations. He met her eyes. I wanted to see things no one from my family had ever seen. Meet people no one I knew had ever met. Experience something ... more. Velara's gaze was soft with understanding. I think I know something about that. My people have certain expectations for someone of my bloodline. Property owner is considered a respectable, but rather mundane occupation. My parents hoped I'd be a star cartographer or a quantum mathematician. Why didn't you? Because I love this. She gestured back toward the garden, where beings from across the galaxy mingled and laughed together. I love creating spaces where different worlds can coexist, where a human and a vril and a Queldi can be neighbors, can learn from each other, can build something together. She turned to him fully. Does that sound foolish? It sounds amazing, Marcus said quietly. They stood there, the silence between them comfortable, and charged at once. Velara was close enough that he could see the intricate patterns in her skin, like silver constellations mapped across an azure sky. Her crystalline hair caught the light from the garden, casting prismatic reflections. "Your sister was right, you know," Marcus said before he could stop himself. "You are flustered." Velara's eyes widened, then narrowed playfully. "And you're rather bold for someone who was hiding behind shower suds just hours ago." "Fair point." Marcus grinned. "Though in my defense, I wasn't expecting company. In my defense, I find you fascinating." Velara's voice had dropped to something almost intimate. "Your species is so cautious about physical forms, yet so expressive with emotion. You blush when you're embarrassed, which I find incredibly endearing. And the way your eyes crinkle when you laugh, we don't have that. Our faces don't move the same way." Marcus's heart was hammering now. "You've been paying attention." "I have." She reached out slowly, giving him time to pull away, and traced a finger along his jawline. Her touch was warm and sent electricity skittering across his skin. "Is this acceptable? Am I overstepping your cultural boundaries again?" "No," Marcus managed. This is good." Velara's smile was radiant. "Good." But she dropped her hand, stepping back slightly. "Though perhaps we should return to the gathering before Juno sends out a search party. Or worse, comes looking herself and makes even more inappropriate comments." Marcus laughed, the spell broken but something new settling between them. An acknowledgement of attraction, of possibility. Probably wise. They returned to the party, but everything felt different now. Marcus was aware of Velara's every movement, the musical quality of her laugh when one of the Mektar told a joke, the graceful way she moved through the crowd. And he caught her looking at him too, those golden eyes holding promises of conversations yet to come. Later, as the gathering wound down and guests began departing, Juno cornered Marcus near the exit. "Take care of my sister," she said, her playful demeanor gone serious. "She acts confident, but she's been alone a long time." "Too long. I'm just a tenant," Marcus protested weakly. Juno gave him a knowing look. "Sure you are. And I'm the queen of the Sara." She patted his shoulder. "Just be good to her, okay? She deserves someone who sees her, really sees her." "I think maybe you do." Before Marcus could formulate a response, Juno had swept away, leaving him standing there with a head full of thoughts and a heart that felt suddenly terrifyingly full. Velara appeared at his elbow. "What did Juno say to you? You look shell-shocked." "Nothing important," Marcus led. "Just sisterly advice." Velara rolled her eyes but smiled. "Would you like to come up for tea? I realize I never properly explained the water recycling system I mentioned earlier. And I promise," she added with a mischievous glint, "to knock before entering any rooms." Marcus knew he should probably say no, should maintain some professional distance between landlady and tenant, should protect himself from whatever this was growing between them. Instead, he heard himself say, "I'd like that," as they rode the lift up to Velara's apartment, their shoulders brushing. Marcus realized that coming to Nexus Station might have been the best questionable decision he'd ever made. And maybe, just maybe, he was ready to discover exactly who he could be, with someone equally willing to step outside their prescribed path. The lift doors opened, and Velara took his hand, leading him forward into whatever came next.